You all know the deal with plot holes at this point. Let's break some down and we can talk about it in the comments. Also, notable newer game spoilers for Deathloop are included. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com and these are 8 video game plot holes you can't ignore. Number 8, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Claire already knows how to find Chris. Resident Evil Code Veronica is many things. Some called it the best Resident Evil game so far on release. The whole plot of the game is that Claire Redfield, 3 months after the events of Resident Evil 2, breaks into an Umbrella facility to find her missing brother Chris. She's captured and imprisoned in a research facility in the Antarctic Ocean, owned by Umbrella allies the Ashford family. Before escaping the facility with fellow inmate Steve Burnside, Claire gets access to a computer and decides to send an email. The message she sends goes out to her friend from RE2, Leon S. Kennedy, whom she then tells Steve knows where her brother Chris is and can therefore forward the message to him. I'm sorry, what? She has Leon's email and knows that Leon is aware of where Chris is? So why did she infiltrate the Umbrella facility, get captured, and not just call Leon to ask for help? Number 7, Hyrule Warriors. When did you transform? Koei Tecmo has become the cranberry of the gaming world, mixing their Dynasty Warriors hack and slash and Musou gameplay into other franchises. Gundam, Fire Emblem, and even The Legend of Zelda. The latter is known as Hyrule Warriors and lets you play as and with Link and friends. One of those pals is Midna, the stone crown-wearing royal imp of 2006's Twilight Princess. In Hyrule Warriors, the first time you meet Midna, she whines that she hates another character in the game, Sia, because she turned Midna into an imp. Sia is a sorceress who joins with one of the villains from Midna's game, Zant, to pull off the curse in the first place. The issue is that Sia is also a playable character, and in Sia's timeline, Midna is already an imp the first time they meet. Game development is obviously a very complex job, so much of this is forgivable, but it's doubly weird that Midna's human form appears later on anyway, meaning a reshuffle of events or character models could have saved everything. Number 6, Ni no Kuni. The travel gates make no sense. An all-time phenomenal RPG, the opening of Ni no Kuni involves a kid trying to bring back their dead mom from another realm, navigating our reality with a host of creatures and elements the average person can't see. With that in mind then, an early quest is to create a gigantic gate to travel between worlds. Part of the quest is finding a big enough open spot to summon the gate. However, once you do it the first time, you can then just do it anywhere, in the middle of the street or right in front of a group of people, wherever you want. You see the issue? This kid just disappears in front of people over and over in the middle of the street and nobody bats an eye. The whole idea of finding the right spot goes completely out the window. Number 5, Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness. He did try though. In this gothy continuation of Tomb Raider on PlayStation 2, Lara Croft is framed for the murder of her old mentor, Werner von Croy. The game opens on Lara confronting von Croy while he's begging her to help him recover a series of paintings for a client. They don't seem very friendly, with Lara accusing him of leaving her behind, referring to Croy abandoning her in Egypt during the events of Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Except he didn't leave her behind. At the end of the game, Lara's hanging from a ledge and Von Croy offers a hand to pull her up. In Lara's defense, Croy had recently been possessed by the real villain, Egyptian god Set, but she refused to take the hand and he leaves before the whole place collapses, as you likely would. In following game chronicles, we see Von Croy leading a search party in Egypt, excited to find signs that Croft is still alive, which she is, and it's not like the search would have been kept secret. So why is Lara so mad at Von Croy in Paris and willing to meet him at all? Number 4, The Walking Dead. How did they steal that boat? The first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead was magical, a level of quality and anticipation to its rollout that Telltale themselves would never top. Even when we learned our choices didn't really matter as much as we thought they did, the journey and the destination were next level. Still, there is a glaring issue in that first season. In episode 4, the group finally finds a much sought after boat, then meets up with and allies themselves to a group comprised of older people, a few that are sick and some former cancer patients. Smash cut to episode 5 and this same group has stolen the boat out from under our group's nose. How though? How did this lot get the boat out of the garage it was parked in? An earlier plot point is that there are no working vehicles in the whole city, and even if you had one, the roads are full of broken down chassis, so you couldn't drive it out anyway. In theory, they dragged it out, but how did such an already weakened group of people carry a full-size speedboat through a zombie-infested city? Number 3, Borderlands. Why can't the enemies use new U-stations? With 3 games to its numbered franchise and a pre-sequel, Borderlands has also successfully survived several spin-offs, including a D&D-inspired stint and even an adventure game from Telltale. One of the major aspects, especially if you die a lot, are new use stations. If the various whack jobs and wild monsters on Pandora kill you, you'll magically respawn at one of these locations. The question quickly becomes though, why don't any enemies ever use them? We know they're canon because characters in the game talk about them. Antagonist Handsome Jack even offers to pay you to kill yourself and try one. The biggest conflicts are undoubtedly Handsome Jack himself and Roland. Handsome Jack dies and doesn't respawn, but he owns the stations directly. You'd think he'd have himself programmed in, especially with all the people out there trying to kill him. Then there's Roland, who was a playable character in the first game, dying in a cutscene in Borderlands 2. If the machines resurrected him across the first game, why not the second? Number 2, Gears of War. Are the krill dangerous or not? Gears of War did many things, make stop and pop cover shooters the in thing for a good half decade, give us one of the best John DiMaggio performances of all time in Marcus Phoenix, and invent a terrifying enemy, the krill. These flying creatures are like a strange mating of piranha and bat and will tear apart anything in their path. That path contains anything not bathed in light. In the first game, the krill are feared by both the humans and the locust. They'll eat the locust just as fast as they'll eat any of your squad. It's why the level where you're piloting a junker vehicle that can only move or power a UV light at once is so effective. The only person on the planet immune to the krill is a locust general named Ram. Ram is surrounded by krill, they do him no harm, and his technique is never explained. This would all be fine except for Ram's Shadow, a DLC for Gears of War 3 that canonically takes place before the events of the first game. In Ram's Shadow, multiple locusts are able to walk right through krill without issue, and several of Ram's lieutenants even command them directly. So which is it? The krill work with the locust or against them? And number 1, Deathloop. Juliana has infinite time to hack the tunnels. Deathloop is a game about Colt, a security chief turning on his former employers and fellow conspirators who have created a time loop. The death part of the title comes from the fact that you're trying to kill the aforementioned employers, and also that dying resets the loop for Colt. There's also another character out there called Juliana who is really, and I do mean really, out to get Colt. A major aspect of the game is that you as Colt have access to a tunnel system that Juliana just can't get into. It gives Colt a safe space and a way to travel undetected between the various locales of the island that the loop takes place on. Juliana even laments at one point that she's never been able to figure out the code to access the tunnels. Except it's only a 4-digit code and the digits are 0 to 7. There are only 4,096 possible combinations, and as Juliana and Colt have been in a daily cat and mouse game for about a century by the time the game opens up, that's a drop in the ocean for the scope of their rivalry. If Juliana tried out a few different codes every day, she'd have it figured out sooner rather than later. And that's assuming the randomizer at the start of the game didn't make your code 0001. And those are just 8 video game plot holes you can't ignore. Let me know your favorites or your solutions down in the comments below, and please subscribe to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.